Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is set for one episode. Your host from Columbus, Ohio, is Michael Kirk. Welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast. Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast, your digital audio dirt sheet for all things Super Show. Many of you may have been clued in from the introduction just a few minutes ago. Obviously, there's only one name in that introduction, and so I will announce now Nathan Wagner is no longer a host of the Outlaw Mudcast. You know, I never thought that this day would come, that he would not be part of the show. I actually thought he would outlast me. It's been a great time having him on the show. Just, you know, he brought a lot of attention, a lot of heat to the program, but he moved the needle. People reacted to him. He and I had a great run at the Grand Gathering, coming just within just a few rolls of becoming the first ever LFF Tag Team Champions. And he's going to be missed. He will be missed on the show. But for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be going solo. Maybe we'll be adding a new co-host. But right now, it's just going to be me. And so I hope that going forward, I will be able to continue to bring you the quality shows that we brought to you as a team. Again, Nathan Wagner, you'll be missed. He is still part of the community, so it's not like he has left Super Show, but he just will no longer be here. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start with the news. As I'm recording this Sunday, it is the middle of Armour Con. There have already been a couple big singles tournaments that took place. We had one Friday night. Came down to two rookies, one named Ron and one named Jeremy. You may fill in the joke as you see fit. But it came down to an Ariel lipstick versus LED, which was nice to see LED make the finals. LED is not a competitor that I have seen played a lot, so it was great to see LED, an all-female competitor final. Ended up being a lumberjack match, and Ariel took it. Ariel took it with I believe it was a pucker up, where no matter what the result of the roll, because of the berry effect of the pucker up, Ariel was guaranteed to win. So, congratulations to Ron, who was playing Ariel. That was the result of the first night. That was a Play Pure tournament. The second night was not, and it actually came down to a triple threat final. And there's a little bit of controversy with this triple threat final. So, the triple threat final featured Robert the Brain Dunn playing as himself, TJ McCartney playing as himself, and Brian, wait for it, Schmidt playing Yeva Lionheart. So, the controversy comes about in this way. The boss, Steve Resk, decides that to make it a handicap match, to team Bob Dunn and Brian Schmidt against TJ Marconi. If TJ Marconi wins, he gets an opportunity to become the LFF World Heavyweight Champion. And in response to this, Brian Schmidt and Bob Dunn convince the boss that if they win, they get an opportunity to play for the LFF Tag Team Championship. And Bob Dunn and Brian Schmidt win. They have earned a future championship match for the LFF Tag Team Championship. There's a little bit of controversy with this that I've seen and heard from people around the community. Essentially, it's as follows. Why is it that some people essentially get championship shots for very little, and some people have to win major convention or other tournaments to get a shot? It's interesting to think about. I'd rather have more people fighting for the championships than less. So I guess I do not have a huge problem with this. Like some of the people I've spoken to, I do see their point that, hey, why am I having to work to fight through, for example, in the case of the tag team championships, a 16 team tournament to get a shot, and then after putting in all that work, essentially two guys can just get thrown together in the finals of a match, and now they've got essentially the same shot at a championship that I do after having crawled my way, having to beat four great tag teams who've proven themselves time and time again to get a shot. These two guys get put together in a handicap match where they have the advantage of winning against, let's be fair, TJ Marconi is not the most experienced player. I would certainly say he's nowhere near as experienced as Bob Dunn or Brian Schmidt. And put together, no, absolutely not. I don't think, maybe TJ Marconi has all his experience. Maybe he's this top tier player, but I would say between the three of them, he plays the least. Just based on kind of my own intuition. But that's what happened. Bob Dunn, Brian Schmidt will now have an opportunity using Robert the Brain Dunn and Eva Lionheart to face the Inner Circle at some point. Or maybe they don't face the Inner Circle. Maybe that opportunity gets pushed down. Maybe they face a team that eventually beats the Inner Circle. You could also in this situation have, because I know, for example, and Chris Pagillo brought this up, Chris Pagillo is Bob Dunn's tag partner in the current tournament on the East as part of the East Coast brackets. Bob Dunn could potentially end up with 2 shots if his team wins out in the tournament. 2 shots to become the tag team champion. So very interesting. And I understand the frustration that people have with the situation. But just wanted to let you guys know that's a thing buzzing around. If you'd like to comment on it, leave feedback, post in the forums, send us an email. I'll talk about it. But just wanted to bring that up. But that's Armour Con. It's wrapping up today as I record this. Next week, of course, is the big Bound for Glory event. But for those of us who are going through SRG Universe, we're going to be going to both the Bound for Glory on Sunday and the All Glory Saturday. The general manager, John Clace, has released more information. He will be emailing you your tickets, which should have the date and time. I believe it's going to be the Bound for Glory ticket will be marked as an SRG Universe ticket, and that marking was what will get you into All Glory. Apparently, All Glory is going to be the location for the autographs, signatures, meet and greets. So you're going to want to go to All Glory if you're looking to meet these people. Tournament-wise, have not heard more. Don't recall hearing more about the tournament. He may have spoken. I just misheard it on Talk of the Universe. But I expect we'll get more information on Talk of the Universe coming up this Wednesday, the Go Home show for Bound for Glory, as we're doing our Go Home show for Bound for Glory right now. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's going to be there. I'm bringing my cards, hoping to meet some of the XCW guys I've only heard about, hoping to see some of you guys from all over the country. I don't know how many people are going to end up going. I know the people from my own hometown here in Columbus are going to be going. I assume we'll get some Cleveland guys, some Michigan guys. Of course, John Clace and Loudmouth Leo are going to be there. Loudmouth Leo was on last week's show. If you haven't heard that, check that out. But Bound for Glory, I'm looking forward to it. Other big thing I want to talk about today, we had earlier this week, I believe it was Tuesday night, which would be the 8th as I'm recording this. Well, it'll be the 8th period. But 8th, the Super Show Dojo debuted on the Twitch channel. A lot of things happened on this show. Number one, they announced just some incredible deals on product through the course of the dojo. So the way the dojo worked was, if you were selected to play in the dojo, you got to you chose to either play the Boston Breast or South Val, who was hosting the show. If you won, you basically got a prize that you chose, a promo card. You would get the promo card for yourself and a promo card that you were to basically play forward to someone who's currently on the stream watching it. Or, if you lost, they took that promo card and put it up for sale. And here are the sales they ended up doing. For a $1 custom order, plus the shipping, so the order would be just this one card, you got an inverted face lock, which normally retails for $20, and the shipping. They did a sale where for $2 you got a lariat knot with shipping, and they did a sale for $3 where you got a complete Eddie Fury competitor set, a going over the steel chain stock card, and a steel chain match stipulation set. So for basically $6 plus I believe it was $4 or $5 shipping each one, so it's actually about $20. You got all of that product, which is probably at least 3 or more times what you paid for all that. So just an incredible deal. So I've got to recommend, when they keep doing these dojos, if you're looking to get some of the most expensive cards in the game, you've got to watch, because I mean, $1 for a $20 card is just nuts. $2 for a $20 card is nuts. $3 for just a competitor set's crazy, and you're getting a card and a stipulation set on top of that. That's crazy. So yeah, cannot recommend. Watch the dojo for the deals. Also, they spoiled a ton of new cards coming out on the dojo. Let me give you as many of them as I can. There are a couple I cannot give you full details on just because I could not make out what they were on screen. I'll give you as best I can, but I cannot guarantee. So let me grab my notes here and go over these. We'll start with the first competitor, Katie Kitty. I've seen the name Katie Kitty thrown around. I believe she is part of the compound. But they spoiled her card. Image is woman in sort of a cat outfit, like a leopard or a cheetah. I cannot recall off the top of my head, but cat outfit. Her stats are Power 5, Technique 7, Agility 10, Strike 9, Submission 6, Grapple 8. The gimmick is when you roll Agility, flip 3 cards, or add 1 strike from your discard pile to your hand. So for those of you, this gimmick may seem familiar. It's the same gimmick with some changes to the skills and cards as Zack Sabre Jr. and the Salty Sailor. Zack Sabre Jr.'s card says when you roll Technique, flip 3 cards or add 1 submission from your discard to your hand. Salty Sailor says when you roll Grapple, flip 3 cards or add 1 grapple from your discard pile. Yeah, so this is essentially another version of that gimmick. They also revealed one of her 3 finish cards, which is called Sweet Chin Meowsic. I like that name. It says, stop any non-lead grapple with, and I had a little trouble reading this word for it, but I think it's with drag or breaker in the name. Your opponent buries 1 card in their hand for each card you have in play with chin in the name. So this is another card that's, uses chin, obviously side chin lock. Take it on the chin are 2 cards that you can have in play that will essentially allow you to make your opponent bury. But stopping any grapple with those in the name is very nice. Comes to mind Backbreaker, Super Arm Drag. They released that finish with her. They really another competitor spoiled was called I believe it's, the way it would be pronounced is El Llama Enmascarada Senor. Power 5, Technique 10, Agility 7, Strike 6, Submission 9, Grapple 8. Once per turn, when your opponent stops a grapple, you may play 1 lead or follow-up submission. I think this is interesting and could have some interesting effects, and I'll tell you why. So it's once per turn instead of once per your turn, which for the most part in a singles game isn't going to matter because your opponent can only stop cards on your turn. Where this is going to be interesting is as multiplayer matches, because obviously it's once per turn, so it doesn't have to be my turn when this happens. So what if I'm playing like a triple threat match? I'm not involved. My opponent plays a card. One of my opponent plays a card on another opponent, a grapple. That opponent stops the grapple. Am I allowed to play a lead or follow-up submission if I'm able to? In the case of a follow-up, in the case of a lead, obviously I can always play lead. Am I allowed to play that? Or because of tunnel vision, am I going to essentially not be allowed to play that because I don't see the stop because of tunnel vision? I believe that's going to be the ruling, that it's really only going to be on, that effectively it's going to be on my turn even in a multiplayer match, because it's because of tunnel vision. I will not see my opponent stop the grapple. The other thing I think could be an interesting scenario setup is this. What if in a multiplayer match I end up using an effect like a team up or a double team? The other player essentially plays a grapple. My opponent stops it. Now, can I then play a free lead or follow-up? Because, interesting scenario, we team up in a triple threat. My opponent goes first. The gentleman I'm teaming up with goes first. He plays a grapple. My opponent stops it. Because it's the same turn, and I can see it. Well, that's an interesting question. Would I see it? Because I know in a double team, it's a shared turn. So is a team up the same way? I don't know. I'm thinking about that, and I don't know. Because if we're a shared turn, if it's the same turn, would I see my opponent stop the grapple and then be able to play off of it? I don't know the answer to that, but it's an interesting one. Because if you could, then I could throw a lead or a follow-up. And then potentially I could throw, a follow-up if I didn't have one in play, and play a finish. I could potentially throw something like Strength in Numbers as lead, then throw a follow-up off my own Strength in Numbers, and then I can throw a finish because my opponent stops the gentleman whose turn I'm sharing. I don't know if it would work that way, but that's one of the first thoughts I had reading the gimmick. So it'd be interesting to see how that's ruled, but that is a potential thing that could happen. I'm sure when he comes into play, somebody will flesh that out a little more. So, third card spoiled. Sean Loeb, the Collector. Power 5, Technique 6, Agility 8, Strike 7, Submission 9, Grapple 10. When a card in play adds to your skill, that skill is +1 additional. So, for example, if I had a card in play that basically said +1 to power, it would be +2 to power, because it would add an additional plus. I think this is one of the strongest gimmicks I have seen in a long time. And let me tell you why. Because there are so many cards that boost skills. The first thought I had looking at this card, without having seen any of the finishes, Frog Splash. Those of you who aren't familiar with Frog Splash says it's an 8 agility skill requirement card, which he has 8 agility. It gives you +1 to agility, +3 to your lowest skill, and it lets you add 1 card from your discard pile to your hand. But because of his gimmick, when it gives you the pluses to your skill, that 8's going to become a 10. The 5, assuming the 5 just has not been altered, is going to become a 9. So you're going to have 2 10s, 2 9s, a 6, and a 7. Which to me is just, and that's on crowd meter 0. So that to me, they're going to have to put out a strike that's almost that has to be better than that. Otherwise, you would never play the strike because the leapfrog is so good on Sean Loeb's card. It's so good. Now, to me, the other thing I've looked into this character that's really stuck out to me, that I think is going to be really strong, are these cards. They're the cards, numbers 1 through 3, that are at the number 1 spot. Leapfrog, Volley of Strikes, Chain Wrestling, Grapple for Position, Clutch onto Opponent, and Test of Strength. And let me go through that in a little bit and tell you why. So each one of these cards is the same text. They just have the skill different on each card. So Leapfrog says, +1 to Agility during turn rolls. If your next turn roll is Agility, it is +2. Volley of Strikes is the same thing, but it has Strike in the place of Agility. Chain Wrestling is the same text, but Technique in as the skill. Grapple for Position has Grapple for the skill. Clutch onto Opponent has Submission for the skill. And Test of Strength has Power for the skill. Now, you might think, well, this isn't a skill bonus, it's a turn roll bonus. No. These are skill bonuses, they're just conditional skill bonuses. They're boosting the skill just during turn rolls. So, his gimmick is going to kick in on these cards. If you have something like Volley of Strikes in play, it won't just be +1 to strike during your turn, it'll be +2. If you've got Volley of Strikes in play, your strike is going to be a 9 when you roll for your turn roll. If you had Leapfrog in place, your agility is going to be a 10 when you roll for your turn roll. So either one of those is strong. I'm thinking I would do Volley of Strikes, so that way I've got a 10, 2 9s, and an 8. I've got 10, 2 9s, 8, 6, and 5, but because Chain Wrestling, the grapple spot, so the strike, the Volley of Strikes is your number 1 card, your number 2 boosts your technique, and your number 3 boosts your power. So you get those in play, you're going to have a strike that's a 9, you're going to have a technique that's an 8, and a power that's a 7 during your turn roll. You can set it up so that your lowest skill during a turn roll is 7. You'll be rolling 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10. So 5 out of 6 of your turn rolls will be 8 or better if you're able to get all 3 of them in play. That is incredibly strong. That's just playing 3 leads. We haven't even talked about the other skill cards yet that are available to you. Because, and let's just go into this. In the 19 through 21, there are 3 different skill cards that you could play. At the 19, you've got Kick to the Head, Leaping Knee to the Face, and Power Punching that lets you add +1 to your strike, agility, or power, respectively. At number 20, you have the Airplane Slam, Face Drop, or Facebuster Suplex that lets you add power, grapple, or technique. And at 21, you have Ankle Lock, Judo Choke, and Flying Headlock, which would add +1 to submission technique and agility. Now, I don't know that I would play these cards because they're just boosting. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't know that I would play these cards because you're having to give up your stop any's in these slots. But based on the stats of Sean Loeb, the Collector, to me, you're going to be able to play DDT. You're going to be able to play, I believe it's Bow and Arrow. I believe Bow and Arrow is the submission skill stop card. I think it's Single Leg Crab's the technique. Bow and Arrow is the submission version. So you might think about, because you've got a couple different choices to bump up your agility. You've got the 19 slot. You've got the 21 slot. You could think about putting in the. I think in this case it'd be the kick in the corner for the number 8 agility, and then play something like the flying headlock to give you the flying headlock or leaping you to the face to give you a 10 agility. So now that skill is almost certainly going to hit. I don't know. There's a lot of playing around with this, and I think there's a lot of aggro that you could do in this deck, because if you can bump up the skills enough to where you're winning turn rolls all the time, stops aren't going to be as important. You could think about with this deck sacrificing stops to play skill cards, because while +1 isn't all that strong, +2 is really strong, especially when you're getting the +2 and then you're basically playing, like I said, those 3 cards where you're basically making it so that your lowest skill is a 7 on the turn rolls. You throw in a +1 to power, and you're playing, what is that? I believe it's Test of Strength. Yeah, Test of Strength, that gives you the power. So now you're basically a 5. You've got the power boost in there. That makes it 7. You've got Test of Strength, and now you're a 9 to power. You just with 2 cards bumped your skill up 4 stats. That's huge. If you are able to convert your 5 to a 9, your 6 to a 9 or 10 on the turn rolls, you're going to be winning enough turn rolls that again, stops won't necessarily matter. Now, I know there's a few stops that boost skills. In the 1921, you have Pump Kick, Sit Out, Power Bomb, and Body Tangle. They're skill requirement cards. You could run, as the skills are printed alone, 2 of them, Body Tangle and Sit Out, Power Bomb. They'd give you a +2 to submission and a +2 to grapple just if you play them alone without even using them as stops. To me, I think there's better uses of those skill cards, especially because your grapple and submission are already 9 and 10. I don't know that making them an 11 or 12 is the smartest play. You also have, and I hadn't brought these up yet, you have in the 25 through 27 slots, which are where your stop any strike, grapple, or submission cards usually are. You do have, these are the Dragon Con promos, a +1 to technique, +1 to agility, and +1 to power, which again with Loeb's gimmick would be +2s. These you could play to bump up your bottom skills. They would bump up your 5, 6, and 7 to a 7, 8, 9 if they were all in play. I don't know if I'd make that sacrifice. I might think about sacrificing the conditional stops first before I sacrifice the guaranteed stops. The conditional meaning that you have to, in the case of the 1920, when you have to have another card to play a stop. I might switch those out and keep these the way they are. Keep those as stops. But I am really digging this. Really think this is a good. I really am liking the gimmick on Showman. I think there's a lot of really, really interesting possibilities. I also noticed this about him. If you're able to win the World Heavyweight Championship with Sean Loeb, he's got a 7 strike. Because of his gimmick, you can essentially say, you can choose to basically have him, when he picks one of the skills, the strike, submission, or grapple, he can make his strike go from a 7 to a 10 because of his gimmick off a championship card, off a heavyweight championship card. He'd make his 9 go to a 12, and make his 10 go to a 13, which I don't think is all that. I don't think that's that big a deal. I would rather take the additional 10. So now you have 4 cards over 8 and 2 10s. I think that's really strong. The other card I hadn't brought up that boosts skills is you also have in the 19-21 the choose one of your skills. That skill is +1 during your turn and turn rolls. Those aren't bad, but I almost like the permanent skill bump better. Although you could think about maybe doing this as a wild card. Because again, it's your choice. You can choose to make your lowest skill +1. And again, because the gimmick, anything that goes +1 to a skill goes +2. So, really digging the possibilities with Sean Loeb. And then just, the other generic finishes. I thought about the right away thought about with him the top rope superplex, which gives you +1 to all your skills. In his case, because this can give you +2 to all your skills when you hit it. Really strong. Also thought with him, if you're doing a play pure, maybe something like a death by elbow. Because when you're getting the +1 to skill for having another elbow card, you're getting a +2. Everything goes up by 1. But Sean Loeb, competitor card, really intriguing. Really digging that. All right, next spoiled card is going to be, it's an entrance card. Nemesis. It's the text says entrance photobombed by Nemesis. I like this. Once per match, you may stop one non-followed finish that does not have a competitor's logo, even if it cannot be stopped. Discard 1 card. So, things like top rope flying headband drop, sheepshooter, sharpshooter, the frog splash I just brought up earlier. This can stop all of those. Jackknife powerbomb, downriver lock, any of the TLC finish cards, super steel chain hold, leg drop off a ladder, slam through the table. All of those can be stopped by this entrance card. I think this would be a great entrance card to give the SRG boss as one of his 3. I really think this is going to be a very strong entrance card. This is even something you could play, like I was talking about with Sean Love, where you go aggressive and don't play as many stops. Any deck I think where you don't play that many stops, this would be a good card to play, a good entrance card to have in that kind of deck, because you're giving up a stop, knowing that I've got this entrance card I can trigger to be a stop because I'm losing a stop. So I'm really liking this entrance card. The next competitor card I'll bring up, Wooly Bully is getting a new, not just an alt art, but a brand new competitor card with a new skill. The stats on it are Power 8, Technique 10, Agility 6, Strike 9, Submission 5, Grapple 7. The gimmick is when you roll Technique, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, flip 1, bury 1, put the other back on top. I'm thinking with this gimmick, I would look at playing some spotlight cards. That way I can choose to essentially flip the spotlight and get it back, but through the roll. Obviously, when you're rolling your technique, you're rolling a 10, which outside of a turn roll boost or skill boost, that's your 10. You're going to almost always draw when you roll that because you're either winning the turn outright or you're bumping. So the card that you're putting on back on top is going to be the card you're going to draw. I see, because you're going to be doing a lot of flipping. I'd recommend probably in this deck putting a decent amount of discard pile recursion in it. And the other thing I'll bring up is that not only does this card have the Wooly Bully logo, so I don't know if this is going to have new finishes with it. I suspect it may, but you'll be able to use the old Wooly Bully finishes. It has the Phenomenal One logo on it. So not only can you use Wooly Bully finishes, you can use Phenomenal One finishes. And so looking through the current Wooly Bully and Phenomenal One finishes, 2 in particular stand out to me. Both of them Phenomenal One finishes. Number 1, the Jackrammer, which is the grapple finish. It's +2 to power, +2 to grapple. Look at your opponent's hand to choose 1 card and bury it. Wooly Bully stats. His power is 8, his grapple is 7. So this would give you, using the Jackrammer, 2 10s, 2 9s, a 5, and a 6. So at crowd meter 0, 2 out of 3 chance to roll 9 or better. I think that's a great finish. The other finish is the submission finish, the Udicator. It's +3 submission, +1 to grapple. If you roll technique for your turn roll and your finish roll is 8 or less, it is +1. So, on the Wooly Bully, his submission is a 5. +3 makes that an 8. His grapple is a 7. plus 1 makes it 8. So his skills with this card are 8, 10, 6, 9, 8, 8. So 3 of his skills are 8. So if he happened to roll technique, he's got a 5 and 6 chance at crowd meter 0 of rolling a 9 or better with the Udicator. And even without rolling technique, you still got a 5 and 6 chance of rolling 8 or better. That's really strong. Because again, 8 or better at 0, 9 or better at 1, 10 or better at 2, pretty much guaranteed win unless he rolls his botch. And his botch is still a 9 at a crowd meter 3. So I think Jackrammer and Udicator, unless the Wooly Bully skills unless the Wooly Bully finishes that are going to come out with this new Wooly Bully are much better, I'm thinking I would run Jackrammer and Udicator with this new Wooly Bully. I think they fit very nicely with this card. Alright, next spoiled card. They spoiled an alt art for the X-Royce submission finish, Dark Souls. I believe it's just a little bit of it's pretty similar to the art that's on the other one. I believe the competitor that X-Royce is fighting is a little differently, and also just sort of they're both still on the mat, but the position is a little different. It's nice. It's a nice looking art. There was a grapple they put up that I had a hard time reading. I could not make out the name. I think it was something like Super Suplex. I know it's a suplex. I couldn't tell what kind of suplex it was. And it was a draw card. It had draw 1 card, I believe, on it. And then I could not tell what the rest of the text was, except that essentially the card would also be a lead if a certain condition was met. So it's a card that could be a lead if a certain thing happened. Apologies, but I could not read what it said. There was also a strike where I had a lot of trouble reading what it said. It looked like it basically had a draw effect and it added to a turn roll effect, but I just couldn't read what it was. I couldn't read the name of it either. The other 2 cards that they spoiled were they spoiled an alt art version of Taunt, which is a number 8 grapple card. It essentially says flip 3 cards, choose 3 cards from your discard pile. Your opponent puts 1 in your hand, buries another, and the last stays in your discard pile. This is it's actually a pixel art card featuring Lily Mai. So I believe this may be one of the Plaid Saturday promo cards. I don't know that, but it very well could be. And then the last card they spoiled was it looks like it's a new version of Forget About It, which we may or may not see. It essentially it's almost exactly the same. You bury 3 cards in your hand, which is on the original, and you draw 4 cards. The original says draw 3. So this is letting you draw an additional card. I don't know how strong this is. This will be a great card if it does come out this way with somebody like the Cyclone, because he gets to draw whenever you bury. So this would allow you to bury 3 cards and draw 5 cards with somebody like the Cyclone. So I am digging a lot of these cards they've put out. They've released. I'm looking forward to getting some of them. I'd be interested in trying out Sean Loeb's. The Nemesis entrance card I think is great. The new Wooly Bully I think could be very interesting. But the Sean Loeb card, congrats to Sean Loeb for winning the CAC and making what I think is going to be a really neat card. And that's kind of it for the new stuff. Like I said, Armour Con's gone. Bound for Glory is next week. The weekend after that, the 27th, is going to be the Free Con up in Massachusetts that the RCW is putting on. the create a competitor tournament with no entrance fee. I believe 2 weeks after that is going to be Supply Saturday 2 down in Louisville, Kentucky at Comic Book World. And then that's it. There's a few events that they've announced coming off. There's looks like there's going to be another event that the Rust Belt's going to be putting on toward the end of November. I believe CCW in the Pittsburgh area is looking to put on a creative card competition in December. PAX Unplugged. A lot of things coming up over the next couple months. I'm looking forward to. I'll give you news on that as we get closer. But I believe that is going to do it for today's show. I'm going to give you the rundown of the local players to the best of my knowledge. If you have any questions, you'd like to leave any feedback, you'd like your information added to this list I'm about to read, please contact myself on Facebook Messenger, send me an email at outlawmudcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on Twitter. We are at Outlaw Mudcast on Twitter. So, here is the list. We'll start with my own local play group, Buckeye Championship Wrestling. We play Saturday nights at the Guard Tower in Columbus, Ohio. Probably won't be too much going on this weekend coming up because I know the majority of us will be at Bound for Glory, All Glory that Saturday night. So I don't expect there'll be anything this weekend. And the last Saturday of the month is actually going to be our big event. It's going to be at Guard Tower East. We are getting a mystery box that will be divvied up as prizes. So if you're looking to get a nice prize, there'll be a full on the line. There'll be some other, some competitor sets on the line. You want to come on down. I believe there'll be an entrance fee for that. That will go toward future prizes, but that's what we've got going on here in BCW. Rust Belt up in North Olmsted plays at Recess Games Monday nights at 6. Monday Mayhem, and again, we're also looking to have a big event. I believe it's going to be on a Sunday in November. LFF Tri-State plays at a Store of Fire and Dice in Lynbrook, New York, Thursdays and Fridays at 7 p.m. City of Champions Wrestling, CCW, just talked about them a few minutes ago. Titan Game Shop in Homewell, Pennsylvania is the host them. They usually play a Saturday or Sunday at noon. I would check with them to be sure. True American Heroes has been playing at a Frontline Games in Clarksville, Tennessee. I do not know if they're still getting together regularly, but the last I heard they were getting together Saturdays at 6 p.m. Florida Cardboard Wrestling plays at House Rules Gaming in Kissimmee, Florida. I would check with that is the group that Bob Dunn, who we spoke about earlier, is a part of. So I would check with him or check with that Facebook group to find out when they play. In Michigan, the former Michigan Wrestling Alliance, I believe it is currently New Order Wrestling. They're now playing Thursdays at Pandemonium. And it's apparently it is the Downriver Boys, David Schmidt and Anthony Hapapuro, that are running the show up there. So that is the information I'm getting. They are running things at New Order Wrestling. There's a Super Show group at Destiny Games in Western Michigan. They play Wednesdays at 6:30. There's a group at Fanfare Comics in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the Skull Group. They play the second and fourth Sunday of every month from 12 to 2 p.m. Sin City Wrestling plays at Atomic Trading in Las Vegas. They play Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Wizards Card Championship Wrestling plays at Wizards Asylum Comics and Games in Norman, Oklahoma. They don't have a regular schedule. They often play Sundays around noon, but that's not set in stone. I would check with the store or with them before going out. We just mentioned Revolutionary Championship Wrestling. They have a few different locations they play at. They play at New England Comics in New Bedford, Massachusetts, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesdays from 3 to 6. Saturdays from 11 to 4. Tabletop games in Westport, Massachusetts. Tuesdays from 3:30 to 6. And Game King in Fall River. Sundays from 5 to 9 p.m. I believe Game King may also be the host of FreeCon. I'm not 100% sure on that. We'll probably talk about that some more next week when we're doing our Bound for Glory wrap-up show. I know that expect me to have some news from RCW about FreeCon when we do the show next week. By the way, I need to bring this up now. Next weekend, because I am going to be in Chicago, the Chicago area for Bound for Glory. The show's not going to come out on Sunday. I'll be recording the show when I come home. So the show will come out sometime Monday night. I apologize for those who are used to listening to the show on Monday. I will get it out as soon as I can Monday when I come back. Island Life Wrestling in Oakdale, New York at East End Gaming plays Wednesdays and Fridays. There is a group called Outpost Wrestling that plays at Outpost Games in Glendale, Arizona, Saturdays from 11 to 2. Meeple People Wrestling plays out of Highlander Games in Boonton, New Jersey. And then there are two places that play at Alternate Universe stores in Pennsylvania. There's a group that plays at the AU Bluebell store in East Norton, Pennsylvania. And there's a group that plays at the AU Holmes store in Holmes, Pennsylvania. That group plays Sundays at noon. The East Norton group at Bluebell, you have to contact Bluebell for dates and times. And that will be it for our show today. And on behalf of our former colleague here, one last time, ladies and gentlemen, eat good, roll better. Thank you.